Well, hello, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of Joe Boo's day job. I'm actually going down to take care of some of the rental properties that we own. Now, if you have been looking at the housing market or been interested in buying a house, of course, over the last year, you've seen the prices of homes just go through the roof. Some of it was a change in the dynamics of the economy because companies were now looking at people and saying you could work from home because of COVID, and people realized that I don't necessarily have to be close to my job. So you saw a mass exodus out of a lot of the urban areas to rural areas where things were deemed more cost effective to live. For example, New York. People from New York were going down and just buying up property and stuff like on the northern neck, for example, area of like Virginia, which is kind of rural. It's on the water of the Chesapeake Bay and things. Very beautiful locations, but not an area where people spent a lot of money for the land. Well, if you were up in New York paying New York taxes and paying the cost of living there, you moved down to that area where, $200,000, $300,000 for a house, you don't care because you've been paying $1 million for a closet in Manhattan. You don't care that it's $300,000 or $400,000, and you just said, I want that spot. And so that was one of the reasons why real estate started going up. Another dynamic was people were doing Airbnbs. People were going through and saying, I need to buy this place for short-term rentals. So then you had a lot of people that were going through and buying those. Now, what's happened now is the Airbnbs bubble is kind of busting because the market is saturated with it. Airbnb is now kind of losing money, and a lot of the people who own properties now are finding out they're not rented. Some people are looking and saying, I haven't had a rental since July. And now they're looking differently and saying, maybe I need to convert this into a long-term rental where I'm leasing it out for a year or so and so forth. So you had a lot of people buying houses for investments there. Then you had flippers, and this is where it almost feels like people were double dipping. If you've been watching, again, your real estate, and you're like, oh my God, the price is going up. Every month it seemed like it was going up 3, 4, 5%. And this was actually not realistic. I hope that this isn't a housing bubble like there was back in 2009 when you had the stock market going through and doing all these crazy mortgages for people that couldn't afford. And their whole thing was, yeah, this is a terrible mortgage and stuff for it, but you'll refinance it in 3 months, so it doesn't matter. And they kept doing things over and over and over again, and people kept getting deeper and deeper and getting loans for people who should not have been able to afford them. They didn't care. It was all about greed. We need numbers of loans to show this. So here's the thing. Here's one of the things that Redfin did. And now Redfin is kind of hurting. You all get those emails from Redfin. This house is for sale in your area. This is a house. Because I literally get bombarded there, 3 or 4 emails a day. Redfin was also in the flipping business. They had an arm where they would go out and purchase properties to turn around and flip. They, of course, are data mining and getting all of the data from the network and stuff and people that might be buying, and then also being the ones that are advertising what they're selling while they're also telling you what your house is worth. They have since basically shut down their flipping department because they're losing money right now. And so now that they're pulling the plug on that, now that they have raised the price of homes, and now that the Fed is trying to slow down inflation, now you're beginning to see a lot of your houses, if you start looking at Redfin and the estimates now on your house, seems like they're not quite as high as they were. They've kind of leveled off, and in some areas they've gone down by like 20% of the estimate. So herein lies the problem of buying when the feeding frenzy is. What I was always told was you make your money when you buy the property, not when you sell it. And that, of course, goes back to the original dynamics of buying good value and buying for the long haul. Everybody's looking for the get rich quick scheme of, let me go ahead and do an Airbnb. The thing about when something new is, you have to be on the front of the wave. You have to ride it in early and then get off. The problem is, just like markets, like the farmers markets. If you were in the farmers markets when they first started, when it was a novelty, everybody looked, oh my God, there's a farmers market. Let's go, honey. We got to get some fresh tomatoes. Then the market became saturated with it, and it was no longer a novelty. Well, that's the same thing with the Airbnbs. Right now, not a lot of them are doing really good. Economy slowed down. It's oversaturated. It's not quite the novelty that it was. And then you're hearing things like two-way mirrors where, some homeowners are putting cameras in, and bad experiences for people. So, if you're investing in real estate, time is on your hands. Time is on your side. And you want to invest for the long haul. Basic thing you always want to remember: buy the worst house you can in the best neighborhood you can. Because if you fix that up, you've now increased the value of that property, as opposed to buying a house that's perfect. If the house is perfect, then you're only waiting for the economy and the neighborhood's value to go up. If you buy a house that's down here, that's a foreclosure or a fixer-upper and things, that's half the price of what the fixed-up ones are, you put 25% of that value, now you've got 25% equity in the house, and you hold on to it and let it grow. So that's what I've learned, at least over the course of time. And the good thing about real estate is, as opposed to, I'm not the stock market guy. It's just funny money, because somebody talks about cryptocurrency and stuff. It's not tangible. I can't put it in my hand. But I can always drive by and see that house. And even if that house burns down, I got insurance that'll help pay for it. So that's my tips. If you have any questions on what I think about the real estate, if you're looking to probably buy with the Fed still looking to raise interest rates, and now that houses are beginning to sit, it's going to be a buyer's market probably by the springtime and into the summer. And that's a good time to actually start, as some of these Airbnbs, and these adjustable rate mortgages start really going up, that you're going to see, unfortunately, people losing houses. And that's an opportunity for you to get in when the price goes down. You're going to pay higher interest rates, but if you're making them as a rental property and things like that, or looking to long term, paying an extra payment every year will help negate some of the cost of that interest. So that's my tips as far as real estate goes. And like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just giving you what has worked for me and what I see. I'll see you guys later.